Robert has very kindly offered or agreed to do a talk about the cremation reforms and paperwork affiliated with Scotland. And the purpose of that will be for revision. Instead of just learning numbers of forms and names of paperwork, if we can understand more of an understanding about what these forms actually do, it might help sink in further for your revision. So that's the whole purpose of it. So I'll hand over to Robert now. Kay's here as well, our chosen one. In small print, everyone was invited. So I'll hand over to Robert now, and thank you again, Robert. I'm gonna go hide my screen. Okay, so.
Thank you. So, Kate, since you're the only person here, I'll just kind of speak to you directly, right, rather than trying to address it as a whole. So, I had a meeting with one of John's other students last week. Went over this kind of stuff. So she just basically asked for clarification. She was just looking for clarification on the forms. So in a whole, the forms in Scotland are very, very straightforward. So in April, I think 2019, our cremation forms were generalised across the board by the Scottish Government. So all of our crematoriums used to have their own individual application forms and supplementary forms, but the Scottish Government stepped in and said that this was kind of not good practice and brought in a kind of generalised form. It's called an A1 application form. So this form, which if I can do this and show you it, I'm still trying to figure out how this Teams thing works. Yeah, so if the A1 form, if I can bring it up on my screen. Yeah, this one here. Can you see that okay, Kay?
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, this is the A1 application form for a cremation in Scotland. So this is just a standardised form. This will work for any crematorium in the entirety of Scotland. It's just one application form. The only difference we do now is at the very top. I don't know how well you can see my screen, Kay, but at the top, those little kind of blue highlighted boxes is you have to fill in the details on there. So you basically put on the crematorium authority, and if required, which particular crematorium it is within that authority. So that for any cremation at all in the entirety of Scotland, you require that A1 form. There's no ifs or buts about it. For a basic kind of standard cremation, you require that A1 form and a copy of the Form 14, which is what the deceased family get from the registrar once they've registered the death. So the Form 14, if I can possibly show you that, is this one there. I don't know if you'll be able to see that well either. So when a family, sorry, Kate.
Certificate of registration of death, yeah?
Yeah. So basically, once the registration process has been completed by the family, either remotely or in person, this is the form that the registrar will give to them. So this is the form that we require in Scotland before we can carry out the cremation. We can provisionally book cremations and things like that, but this is the forms that we need to submit to the crematorium authority with the Form A.
Our certificate, yeah, that we class as the green cert.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Once they've registered the death. So this is the form. So now these forms correlate in a way as well. Okay, so see in the middle of that certificate of registration of death, you can see there's a little box with 3 questions with a yes/no answer.
Yeah.
Basically, that answers questions in the application form. So there's a part in the application form where it asks, so at the bottom of that page there's a part that says Procurator Fiscal. So that's if there's going to be a post-mortem taking place for a death. So if there is, you need to fill out that part. But see this part here. So this is on the A1 application form. So the answers to those questions you would get from the Form 14.
Right.
You know, so they work hand in hand with each other. So those are just basically, for a cremation in Scotland, those are the only two forms you would really need. You need the Form 14 and the A1 application form. The only time you would require possibly additional forms is if we were, as I was just discussing there, the Procurator Fiscal were involved, which is our version of the coroner.
Mm.
So if there was a post-mortem examination taking place, then what we would need to do is, I don't have a copy of this on my screen, but I'll get one over, is an E1 request form. So we would fill out an E1 request form and send it to the Procurator Fiscal for our area. And basically what that is it'll be the same as the kind of coroner's authority to cremate. That's all it is really. So you're sending it to the fiscal. We'll get an email back from them saying that they are happy for the cremation to be carried out. When we send the E1 request form, we're required to put down what crematorium it is that we're holding the cremation at, because the Procurator Fiscal will also send the E1 directly to the crematorium so that they have a copy of it as well.
So where is we? Oh, sorry, Robert.
Oh, you're okay. I was just drinking coffee on the go.
So where is coroners in England automatically send us their authority to cremate or bury? You have to request it.
Yeah, so if we only require that if there's a post-mortem being carried out, but we must then request it, because if it's a burial, then you can still bury somebody because they can always be exhumed for re-examination. But for the cremation, you need to request the E1, because obviously you're basically destroying any evidence.
Okay.
But yeah, we need to fill. So we've got a lot of application forms in Scotland, as you would imagine, for stillborns, donating bodies to science, all this kind of stuff. So it's A6s and A7s. So we have all those forms. What I have done is emailed them all to John this morning, all those application forms, and asked them to send them out to the group via email. So hopefully he'll be able to do that today, and you'll get a full copy of it. The only thing that you'll probably know of anyway, but the only other form that you'll have for your cremation is your supplementary form, which is the only thing that's specific to the crematorium. That's just for music requests, cutting instructions, all that kind of stuff. That's really the only kind of thing. That's not really a kind of standardized form though. That's not like a legally binding form or anything like that. That's just more for the crematorium's own sake. So the way, and I'm not sure if this will actually be involved in the exam or whether this will even come up, but the A1 application forms in Scotland, according to the Scottish Government's legislation when they released them, is that we are technically no longer allowed to fill those out. When we are arranging a funeral with a family, the family must fill that form out themselves. Which we've had we take umbrage with straight away, and then it's been an ongoing issue. COVID changed that because we were then doing it so there was no cross-contamination. But as we were saying, if we go into a house of a 94-year-old woman that's lost her husband, and we're having to ask her to sit down and physically fill a form out. But we've not had any issues with filling them out and just getting the families to sign them. So that's it. In terms of burial paperwork for Scotland, they differ quite a lot depending on what local authority you go to. And in Scotland, for a burial, obviously you'll need a layer in a cemetery. So if you don't have one, it's a case of just buying a new layer. But if you do have an existing layer, when you're submitting the paperwork, you need to submit the title deeds with it as well. So you need the title deeds for that layer. We also have something in Scotland called an indemnity form. Now, this is for if the layer owner has passed away or anything like that. It's about transferring the rights of the layer. Excuse me. What I generally do though is I'll get the family to sign an indemnity form for every single burial, regardless of whether we need it or not. We just get them to sign it, because then if later on down the line during the arrangement we feel that we require it, we already have it. You know, and it's just a case of signing the form. But the actual burial forms differ for every single cemetery or local authority. Just depends. They have not been standardised by the government or anything. So they are just quite vague, to be honest. Some of them require basic information, and some of them want, you know, the chemical makeup of the coffin that you're supplying and things like that. So that's most of those forms you can get directly from the local authority website. You know, if you go onto their website, you can download the form, or if you contact their bereavement services, they'll normally supply them via email.
Okay. So in terms of the forms, because the one that keeps confusing me is the Firth of Scotland. What actually is that?
The Firth of Scotland one would only really be irrelevant if you were doing a burial at sea, I believe, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it in under the repat as well? Can't remember. I think it's under
yeah,
the
well, sorry. Yeah, you might need it for the repat, but these are, you know, these are things that we don't generally keep copies of because we either use them very, very little, or they're very, very easy to lay our hands on, you know. As with most forms, to be honest.
So I don't need to concern myself with that one, as long as I've got it in my Scottish paperwork list. Yeah,
as long as you know that it's required for maybe certain parts of maybe repatriation or burial at sea. But in terms of, you know, for a just kind of basic across the board cremations and burials, you don't require anything like that. So.
Right.
So as I said, a cremation, it's obviously it's easy for me to say it's very straightforward because we do it all the time. But for a standard cremation, you require legally two forms: the Form A and the Form 14. Simple as that. For a cremation for a deceased that's been reported to the Procurator Fiscal and requires a post-mortem, you just need the Form A, the Form 14 and the E1.
Okay.
And that's all the kind of legal forms that you require. Everything over and above that, as I said, is supplementary crematorium forms and things like that. What about the rest of it, Kay? Are you okay with the rest of it, or are you?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? What I've explained?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, because obviously you're looking at the forms and revising all the forms, but you saying actually you only need 2 or 3 if the procreator's involved.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And this is when I spoke to the Rachel last week. She said the same. It was easier when it was kind of explained that way. It is genuinely straightforward. So if you imagine we do a direct cremation, you know, so there's nothing involved other than the cremation, then all I'm submitting to the crematorium authority is a Form 14 and a Form A. That's it. They don't require anything else. And then again, if it's a direct cremation, but the Procurator Fiscal were involved, you know, it's the Form A, the Form 14, and the E1 form. And that's it. You're not submitting anything else, you know, apart from your supplementary form. There's nothing else required, just those forms signed by the family. And it's as simple as that.
Okay, that makes sense then.
That's good. We just need to now try and get our head around the English and the Wales and the Irish forms as well.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. That's brilliant. Thanks, Robert.
No worries. Is there anything else, Kay, from our end, from the Scottish end, that you want to know, or anything I could help you with? Or?
No, I don't think there is. Like I say, I'm just plodding through all the revision, and I've done obviously my little revision cards. So I'm just literally painting through everything that I've wrote on those. So I think it's, if something comes up that I think I can't actually get in my head and remember, I may come back to you and say, look, I'm struggling with this bit or something else.
Yeah, no, that's fine. As I said to John and Rachel, his other student last week as well, we're all on that WhatsApp group. If anybody wants to speak to me directly for any reason, if you want to go over or review anything, just let me know, and I'm happy to set up a Teams call like this. And I'll go through anything with anybody that needs any assistance on it. Because I might have to reach out to somebody for the same thing for the kind of English side anyway. So I'm more than happy to support anybody that needs it.
All right, brilliant.
Okay,
All right, thanks, Robert.
excellent. I'm not sure if John's still around, or is he? Are you listening, John? Are you eavesdropping? I think sorry, Kev, I've just got an email from John as well saying that he's just emailed all those cremation forms over that I sent to him.
I thought he had.
Yeah. I'll just send him a message. How are you getting on with your revision? Okay, are you everything on track?
Not too bad. It seems to be more the simple things that won't sink in my head rather than the difficult stuff, if that makes sense. I'm getting around most of the forms. How are you getting on?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm learning in a kind of different way, so I just kind of read the information and absorb it, and it sticks somewhere. I don't know where, but it sticks somewhere, you know. And yeah, I trick myself into doing things, you know. I trigger myself